Hello, everyone. My name is Karen O'Donnell. I'm a nurse in New Hampshire. I started a functional medicine nursing company called Holistic Inner Balance. And this podcast is to empower people to live healthier lives by creating a balance with stress reduction, healthier options, and lifestyle changes. So, this podcast is to help people with the health and wellness of themselves as well as other people. And we love highlighting nurses and especially nurse entrepreneurs. So I want to welcome Jennifer Carr, who is a friend of mine on the other side of the country. And Jennifer and I met a while ago on social media, and we have been connected ever since. And I really love her business model and the approach that she takes with her business and her nursing career. So this is Jennifer Carr. She is the independent RN. So welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be on the podcast, Karen, and I'm so glad we met on social media because today would not be possible if we never connected. So I'm grateful for this opportunity.
It is amazing, isn't it, how we can be like so many thousands of miles apart, but still have the connection of being able to have found each other on social media, and that's how we're able to support each other. So I love it. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So tell us, first of all, we'll dive into your business model, but tell us about yourself and one thing that you really like to do for yourself, your health and your self-care. So it could be a daily practice, it could be something you do weekly. What is it that you like to do for your own self?
Well, on a daily basis, I definitely will blast some music, whatever music I need for the mood that I'm in. And I'm going to sing it as loud as I can, wherever I am. And, music is therapy
Mm,
because you can find that right song that fits what you're feeling, and you're able to feel those feelings and just be with those feelings for that moment and say, okay, am I going to hold on to this or I'm going to let this go? And you could let them go afterwards because you're like, I just really felt what I was going through and let it be that. So that is definitely a daily thing. I have to have music. And I also check in like with my mood.
mm.
Like, let me track my mood because that's definitely going to tell me, is this serving me or is this not serving me? Because if I'm continuously saying I'm irritated or aggravated, and I'm in the same situation, then I need to say, oh, this is something I need to address. So those are the two major things that I actually do.
I love that. And music, you're right, is such a therapy. And can I ask you, what is your favorite song that you like to listen to and to jam out to?
I'm an Alicia Keys fan all the way. And so there's a few of them. I'm trying to think of the name of it, but I want to say it's More Than You Know, but I could be very off. But it's telling, it's a song that says you can do more than you know. Like, it goes, more than you
Mhm.
know, we
Yeah.
can do. And I'm like, oh, this is the song. This is the motivation. This is what we need. Some days when you're down and you're out and you're just like, okay, I got to do this again. Nope, nope. What did Alicia Keys say? Let me listen to what Alicia Keys said. And you're like, nope, this touches my soul. Let's get moving. And, I might not feel it right now, but, I can do more than I actually think I can at the moment.
Yeah, I love that. So I will share that this wasn't a song that I loved growing up because I was a child of the 80s, let's say that. So it wasn't as much in my wheelhouse, but as an adult, my favorite song is Here Comes the Sun by the Beatles.
Oh my God, that's my mom's, and I love it. Yes.
Yeah, it just makes me feel so happy every time it comes on. I'm like, yay.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it is interesting how as our lives change and things happen, how different songs come into our existence. And it was very different when I was growing up. I was more into Bon Jovi, but now I'm more into the Beatles. So yeah,
Hmm.
music is definitely
Yeah.
therapy.
Yeah, and the Beatles have some wonderful songs.
They really do. They
Hmm.
really do. So let's talk about you and your business. Tell me about
Okay.
your journey and how you, first of all, how you started off in your nursing career, but then became an entrepreneur.
So I, in my mind, when I was younger, I always wanted to be a pediatrician. So my uncle was a pediatric nurse in Oakland, and he took me, he was a case manager at the time. So he's like, okay, this is what you want to do. I'm going to take you to my job and I'm going to show you around. And I was just like, in awe because I was so young and I was like, I actually get to see this in person.
Yeah.
And, and so I was like, okay, fine. So in my head, I wanted to be a pediatrician because I had the best pediatrician ever. And so I was like, okay, this is great. My mind's set. So let's fast forward to like my 20s. I just had a 1 year old and I started working in the hospital in the business service office, which was definitely just a blessing because I didn't even sign up for it because I wanted to work in like this warehouse and this temp agency because I was young and I just wanted a job, right? And so they were like, "Oh no, you're majoring in pre-med, so this is the perfect spot for you to be at." And if that lady did not say it was the perfect spot to be at, my career trajectory would probably be a whole lot different than what it is. And so I was working in the business service office, and there was a program from the hospital that I worked at with the local community college. And they had a great nursing program. And this is the time, like 2000, I want to say it might have been because I graduated in 2007. So probably like 2003, 2004. And this is like when the nursing shortage was happening. They brought some nurses over from the UK. And so they're like, hey, we see this, we foresee, having issues with having nurses. Let's get this program up and running. And it was a wonderful program. It was cohorted and we were we were the seventh cohort, I believe. And so it was kind of just you do what is needed. You meet with the counselor, you do what is needed, keep your grades up, and you can go do all your prerequisites with us, with your group, and now you could go into nursing school with the group. And it was all kind of in the same area. And so that was awesome. That
Yeah.
was awesome. I wish they would do more programs like that.
Yeah.
Um, because you honestly get support too with the students because you're all in it together
Mm.
and you've been seeing each other for a while and you're just like, oh no, we got to get together because we're having a hard time in A&P, or they want us to do a speech. Like, are you having like the jitters too?
Mm.
So I loved it about that. And then afterwards, years afterwards, I just did my bachelor's online, which I loved the program that I was in because it was Western Governors University, and they had a mentor. And if I didn't have that mentor doing online, then I really would have slacked a lot because they stay on top of you and say, hey, this needs to get done, or hey, what's your hold up? And they kind of guide you and direct you. So,
So you started with your associates, and
mhm,
so that was the cohort, and that was, the kind of collaborative, everybody having clinical together, which sounds amazing. And then you did online your bachelor's. Got it. Okay.
yes. Hmm.
Awesome.
Yep. And so then I started working at the hospital that I was at. I worked in cardiovascular, and it was an awesome hospital. And I could definitely say it now from being independent and traveling to different hospitals, knowing what type of patients we saw. It was very educational. Like we had the active MIs, we had the transplant patients. They were doing transplants at the time that I started there. So I think they were doing more liver and kidney transplants, but we would have other patients that had, heart transplants or lung transplants. We would have them, but we
Wow.
just wouldn't see them as frequent because we didn't do it there.
Yeah.
And then we had LVADs, which was actually amazing because I think this was at the point when they were bringing them out and using them more frequently.
Hmm.
And just being able to connect with the patients that were actually using the assisted devices and really like clicking in your head, like, oh my God, this machine right here is doing all the work and getting all this circulation to the body, and this person is sitting here talking to me face to face. So that was so amazing to me. There was many more things that they had on the floor, but
Yeah.
those were just some of the things that I got to experience, and I'm grateful for it
Wow.
because it kind of set me up for being capable of taking on anything, because you never know sometimes what you're going to get on the floor, and you're just
Yeah.
like, okay, you helped me with a lot of skills.
Right. So, just to kind of bring back the point of what you just made. So, your experience on this cardiovascular floor with people having heart attacks, people having transplants of like almost every organ, having LVADs, which if people who are viewing don't understand what that is, it's, as you described, it's an actual device that's exterior to the body that is acting as the pump of the heart that is failing a person. So that is a highly acute, very sick person. So you were taking care of all of these people, and you were able to take that experience of being that high level caregiver and to then move on to what you have created, and to keep that experience with you, knowing basically the good units that you want to work on, and the units that may be struggling, that
Mhm.
may not have as acute patients. But your experience started really high acuity patients, the sickest patients to start with. That's amazing.
And you know what, I am very, very grateful for that, because now it's like, oh, I can handle this. Like, and I'm a big believer on, take the hardest things first, because then once you get that down, everything else is going to be easy. It's not going to be a challenge because you've already challenged yourself and you've succeeded with that challenge. So now everything else that you're going to try is not going to be blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah, so transition us from that experience to you becoming an independent nurse. That's a different concept that most people don't understand.
So I decided, probably, I think it was like 7 or 8 years, the hospital was going to move. So they were going to take the hospital that I worked at. It was a sister hospital to another one in Sacramento. And so they were going to tear that down, and all the patients were moving over to the other hospital, and they built a new facility. And so I just at that moment I said, "Hey, this is the time that I need to find out, what do I want to do with my nursing degree?" There's so many opportunities and different areas that a nurse can work in, and I love cardiac, and love cardiac to this day. But I just knew I needed to venture out. I just knew it, and so I tried home health, and I wasn't successful with an agency, and I was like, oh no. I was like, what was I thinking? And so I had to flip it, had to flip the switch real quick and think, okay, what's your next move? So then I started doing travel nursing, which I loved, because I'm like, you're everywhere. You get to go, you get to pick where you get to go. You get to, pick kind of the time frame of when you want to work. And, you kind of get a little bit more flexibility than being in the hospital. So I started doing travel nursing, and did it for a little bit, but I had a young son. And so I had actually actually by that time I had three children.
Oh,
And so I was like, okay, well, I can't travel too much. And so I decided to do home health, but with a pharmaceutical company. And that was awesome. That was awesome because I was able to do like infusions inside of homes, give education, and then also like hit up, like go to different hospitals, like the UC hospitals in Stanford, to give teaching to patients on pulmonary artery hypertension. And working at in cardio, I didn't get to really see many patients with pulmonary artery hypertension. They normally would be like in the ICU, and if they needed higher level of care, they would just send them to another facility. So it was very eye-opening. It was like, wow, there are um things that you don't know. Not that I thought I knew everything, but there it was eye-opening to say like, oh my goodness, like, this isn't a well-known disease process, and educating people and even educating like some of the staff was like, oh, I've never heard of it. Or I was like, oh no, this needs to get out. People need to hear it. And this is a serious, disease. So I was excited to be able to do that. And then after that, I still did traveling during COVID time. And I said, oh my goodness. I said, this is a business. I knew a hospital was a business, but I didn't, really realize it until COVID. And I said, who better to look out for ourselves than ourselves? And so I said, I can do this. Me and my friend would always go back and forth, of what we want to do as entrepreneurs. And we're like, we'll try that. We'll try this. We'll try this. We'll try that. And so then I said, you know what? What do I know best? What do I know best? I said, well, I know nursing best. So let me just develop this. And if I want to step outside of nursing after that, then at least I know what it is to be an entrepreneur. And so I said, well, I'm going to take care of myself. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take care of myself. And so I just researched a lot. Like I researched taxes. Like I would get on social media and listen to CPAs and like listen to books and audiobooks and just kind of get information in that kind of helped me guide me on the way that I needed to go as an entrepreneur. And just listen to different entrepreneurs, like their hiccups that they had to go through in order to get them to where they're at. Because we normally just see where they're at. And so seeing where they're at is like, oh man, you made it here. But we don't see the struggle that happens in the background. And so being able to see that and being able to just listen to what is needed and get that information in, it kind of helped me get to this point because I knew I wanted to be independent. I knew I wanted to try something different. And I didn't truly know what it was going to take, but I knew that I was going to research it to the best of my ability.
yeah, that's perfect. And I want to get back to a point that you made. This is 100% real that,
Mhm.
you know, healthcare is a business now.
Yeah.
And we have to sometimes look at it like that because that's the way of the world now. So when I
Yes.
first started my nursing career many years ago, it was a nonprofit mentality, and that's what
Yes.
hospitals were. And
Yes.
that shifted into the business model that is for profit. So,
Mhm.
I think a lot of nurses really feel that because it changed how we took care of people and how we take care of people now versus how we were able to have more flexibility and time previously. But now we have all of these protocols and regulations and all of these things that take up our time that takes away from our patient care, which is sometimes
Mhm.
the most frustrating. So
Mhm.
to take that initiative and your nursing experience and your critical thinking skills and to be able to find your way in the business world and to be able to know the things that you needed to do to become independent. That is a lot of what nurses fear, is that this is
Mhm.
something that I don't know. So I'm an expert in nursing, in whatever specialty nursing, but I'm not an MBA. I don't have a business degree. So how do I
Mhm.
navigate that? And so many
Mhm.
nurse entrepreneurs that I know, we figure it out because we find where our resources are, we ask the right questions, we get as much information as we need to, and we just go, even though it's
Mhm.
uncomfortable, even though,
Mhm.
you may have a little imposter syndrome to start with. And, sometimes that still happens, right? You're like, how did I get
Mhm.
here? But,
Mhm. Mhm.
to take that experience that you have and to work within your means to create that company that you are running successfully, and now teaching other nurses how to do that as well. That is an amazing story, and I'm so glad that you are on this path. It's incredible.
Yeah, thank you. I always believe like if you're going to teach somebody else what you're doing, you have to actually engulf yourself in it to really learn it because there's so many different, you know, aspects to teaching somebody that where you're just like, if I can just put this in plain, simple, like words and you can understand it. I always go back to nursing. Put it in is it a sixth grade or a third
The
grade?
fifth grade, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Put it into where a fifth grade can understand you. And I'm like, okay, everything I do now is like, okay, let me make sure you understand me. Like, let me make sure that what I say comes across correctly because I want to make sure that you have what you need to do the best that you can do.
Yeah.
So I think I'm right at the point, I'm at the beginning to where I'm like, I'm gonna figure this out for all the nurses that decide that this is the track they want to go on. I'm gonna figure it out. And I'm definitely gonna give the information because that's the hardest part is just saying, oh my God, I gotta step out here and I gotta just do it. And not having what is needed is a little bit scarier than just taking what all the information you need and going with it because nurses are very resourceful. We're detectives. We'll look into things like so we know our ability. It's just trying to gather all that stuff at one time so that you can make that leap. And if I can cut some of that down, then and be a cheerleader for all the other nurses that want to do it, I'm there. I think this is my calling.
That's awesome. You struck a chord with me in talking about, trying to bring it down to a fifth grade level or an easier level. It just makes me think of like all of those memes that I've seen recently about, the nurse splaining, like when a doctor goes in and like talks to a patient and the patient's only understanding like 5%, and they walk out of the room and you go back into the room and you're like, let me just tell you a little bit about what's going on. And
Right.
sometimes that's what we do, right? We
Mm-hmm.
put it in the language of the person that needs it. And that doesn't
Mm-hmm.
mean that it's being dumbed down at all. It's just the language that they understand, instead of
Mm-hmm.
instead of using, big words that they may not understand. So
Mm-hmm.
I love that you already break it down like that. So if say a new nurse or a nurse with, a few years of experience came to you and said, I just don't know if I can do this. I think that, I want to do something, but I may not have enough experience, or I don't know what to do. What would your insight be for that person who's like, I don't think I'm smart enough. I don't have enough experience. I don't know what I don't know? What would you say to them?
If they're a new nurse and they're just kind of trying to figure it out and really trying to figure out where they want to be, sometimes we feel like, okay, I don't know this. Let me relate to you. Let me tell you, like, hey, you'll experience that a lot.
Mm,
So be okay with not knowing something, but don't be okay with not figuring it out or getting the information.
Mm.
So I think we all go through it. But as a new grad, you're really trying to figure out, where should I be? Like, should I be in cardiac? Should I be in L&D? Is ER a good fit? And even sometimes down the road in your career, you're like, okay, do I want to move to a different area? And I think allowing new grads to know, like, hey, there's so many different options out there. And what do you kind of tugged to? Do you like, maybe being there for families and patients at the end of their life? Because that's a certain nurse that is able to handle that. Or do you really love children and you want to work with the children and their families while they're inpatients? Or do you want to work in a clinic where you see, you know, patients for maybe 15 minutes and then you see another patient? Just kind of showing them, like, there's options. Like, let me show you that the world of nursing is pretty big.
Yeah, it is 100%. And I think you brought up a really good point to tell people that you figure out what your likes and dislikes are and what you're drawn to, and to
Mhm.
know that you can't know it all. That was a tough lesson for me to learn. So one
Mhm.
of my nursing one of my first nursing jobs, I was on a floor where it was like you have to prove yourself before
Mhm.
you really um, it, were understood, or like
Mhm.
felt smart about things. You had to prove yourself. And I had an opportunity to change into a different specialty, and that was 180 degrees different. So like the nurses that were senior, they were motherly, they were nurturing, they were educating you, they wanted you to succeed. So they took
Mhm.
you under their wing, and they made sure that you had the resources, and to know that you can't know everything, and that
Mhm.
you need to know where your resources are. You need to know who to ask for different things, but you can't know
Mhm.
everything. It's always a learning experience. And I think that
Mhm.
that's a point that you were just making, that, just don't fake it if you don't know, because that is
Mhm.
going to be to your detriment as well as the patient's, obviously. And we're always
Mhm.
learning. We're always evolving, like you were just saying. Yeah. And it's not always the same that we want to do. Like 3 years from now, you might want to do something different. 5 years from
Mhm.
now, you might want to do something different, or you may want to stay in the same job for 30 years. You never know. To have
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
openness to really dive deep into what you want, right?
Mhm. Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, I think that that's great advice, and I am so happy that you are on this path and that you're teaching new nurses, and I don't want to say old nurses, but experienced nurses, how to navigate their own independent business. So, how would people reach out to you to get more information about your business, your education? What are your social medias, and any way that people can get in touch with you?
Right now, I'm on TikTok as the independent RN, so they could send me a message, and I'll respond to their message, or they could email me at theindependentrn@gmail.com.
All right, awesome. And I know that you have a website that's coming, so that will be in the near future. But
Yeah.
TikTok and email is how everybody reaches you. So that's amazing. I'm so glad that you were on this platform, because you have so much experience and information for people. And I love that you shared what you do for your own self-care, and that that's what it's all about, trying to like connect with people and to let them understand what your experience is and how you can help them. And I really think that all of what you've done so far is amazing, and I can't wait to find out what is going to happen with you in the next 5 years.
Thank you, Karen. You've always supported me, and I am so grateful for this. And I will continue to keep you in the loop of what I'm doing, but I know I have some things in my head, so now I got to make it come to fruition.
Well, I will be your cheerleader for sure.
Yes, I'll take it.
All right. Thanks so much for being with us, Jennifer.
Bye,
All
Karen.
right.
Nice talking to you.
Bye bye.
Bye.